We're going to show you an OTT video. They've started a wrestling revolution here in Ireland, and if you're a wrestling fan in Dublin and you haven't been to OTT, you're missing out. Have a look.
It's amazing, and just to be even like the smallest part of it is awesome. I can't tell you as a person how this makes me feel and how thankful I am for legitimately all of this.
It's a special place in my heart, and I don't know how many independents I'll be able to do going forward. I don't know if I'll be back here, but if I didn't know where I'd be here forever, so.
I found it hard to believe then, and even today, when it's a couple of hours away, I still find it kind of hard to believe that I'm wrestling like it. It's a major privilege.
OTT has become one of Europe's top promotions. I mean, the wrestling world is watching because we have something different.
So that is OTT Wrestling. We've all drank the Kool-Aid. I think we're all in the OTT cult, with the exception of the Offaly Oaf Will O'Callaghan, a fitting name considering you've never gone to any OTT show. What is wrong with you?
To my shame, I work Saturday evenings and Sundays, so I haven't had a chance to go.
Who's responsible for that?
Probably the people who make the roster and work, I would imagine, most likely.
Call them out, Will. Look down the camera and cut a promo on them. John Duggan, you and your roster is a disgrace.
The worst part is I've actually seen quite a few of the guys who've been wrestling on OTT on different productions over the last year or so as well, and they are booking damn good wrestlers, which is the most impressive part, because many of the big promotions in the UK have been unable to get near the guys who've signed for the UK brand of NXT, and the All Elite wrestlers haven't been able to wrestle on the UK Indies as well. But bizarrely enough, OTT have been able to book them and put matches against each other. Like a couple of months ago, you had formerly Neville, now Pac, up against Volter.
And it was class.
And that couldn't happen on any British independent production at the moment. So, OTT have cornered the market off, and just from watching the videos, they look like they're incredibly well attended, really good atmosphere at them as well. And Irish wrestling seems to be going through a really good period.
Yeah, I was at my first one there a couple of weeks ago, Scrappermania 5. I was finally, I have to go along. I think I was drawn in by, what did I want? It was Liger.
Yeah, of course.
Because I don't know if anybody listening to this, if you do get in contact, because I don't feel like I'm hallucinating. Back in the 90s, Eurosport used to show repackaged, I think it was New Japan, maybe even some All Japan pro wrestling stuff, as voiced by Gordon Soley did voiceovers on it, Oliver Humperdinck did voiceovers on it, and a couple other well-known commentators. But they basically repurposed what at the time, when I'm thinking of when I was viewing it, was probably about 2-3 year old stuff. But I ended up seeing a lot of Jushin Thunder Liger, a lot of Shinya Hashimoto.
Where was it? Eurosport?
Eurosport.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically, it was New Japan matches with American commentary. And I saw a lot of Liger back then. I was just like, who is this lad? This is amazing. So when I saw that he was actually booked in Dublin, like literally about 3 weeks after announcing he'd be retiring in January, I was like, right, that's it. I'm only going to get one chance to see.
It's the bucket list. It has to be on the bucket list.
Yeah, it absolutely is. So I got to see him in person, which was a huge draw for me. And he, put over Scotty Davis on the night, and everything was really wonderful. The show was brilliant, to be fair.
Will you be back?
It was really well. It's a really well paced show. They have a lovely mixture. They're just in that nice sweet spot of really good, well thought out, really logical physical matches, and some other comedy stuff as well. It's just kudos to the lads, to Joe and Angus and all the rest of them are putting it on, because it's a fantastic show.
Yeah, and it's very accessible as well for non-wrestling fans. I've brought a couple of people who work here who have no interest in wrestling. Maybe as a kid may have watched it, but just for the nostalgia value, 20 quid on a night out, we went to the Tivoli, and it was one of the best nights the guy ever had. Niall, you were the same. You were probably a bit unconvinced when I tried to pitch this to you initially, but you've well and truly bought in now. You're full buy-in.
Yeah, like I took one sip of the Kool-Aid, as you mentioned, and now I'm drinking 6 packs at a time, What was
Drink
it?
alcohol responsibly, I promise.
It's actually 3 bottles for tenner now. You might as well get the deal right at the stadium and plug it.
Anyway, I guess when I first went along, curiosity, you had mentioned, I guess your first show was when Mick Foley was there, and yeah, I guess that first time it was like, oh, there's big stars show up here. But now, like after being there for, I guess over coming up to 2 years maybe at this point, going to the shows regularly, I'm invested in the Irish characters more so than the imports. And like the stars that you do get to see, it's unreal. Like, for example, even Jordan Devlin, like when I first saw him in NXT UK or that UK tournament, I hope Jordan Devlin isn't watching, but I was just kind of like, I went by the kind of same logic that a lot of fans do it when you first see him, is that he is Finn Balor light, which is, and then you later on realise that is totally incorrect. And this guy is incredibly talented, and like the reception he gets by the fans that are there, when Richie was there, 2,200 people or whatever it was, like they're blowing the roof off this place for this guy who is putting his body on the line, and you're seeing the sort of stuff that maybe he's not necessarily permitted to do maybe in the big leagues.
Or he definitely can't. A moonsault is his finisher in WWE. They're never allowing a package pile driver on TV.
Package pile driver is unreal, and you get to see these unbelievably incredible matches with David Starr. The Walter match on Saturday night was incredible. Like, they told an incredible story, and everyone in that arena bought into it.
But even there was little nuances to that match I noticed as well, like Walter working Devlin's hand, like essentially smashing it over and over again, so that, this is like, it's a really old school wrestling show, work on one body part, but to see it up close, to see what Walter was doing with Devlin's hand, and a couple of times he tried to throw something and wasn't able to. It was just really well told.
Just on the crowd as well. I know I brought my girlfriend to the show. You brought your girlfriend
mine,
as well.
Yeah, Laura's come.
And they really enjoy it, even though they may not realistically have any interest in wrestling. By the end of it, they were like, actually, that was pretty cool. And we did just kind of hang out for the night and see a lot of action at the same time. And they're drawn into it. Like, it's a story of athleticism and just the great mix of characters. Like I mentioned, the Irish stars there, like the Session Moth, like Martina.
She's a star.
Yeah,
She
an absolute
is
star.
Absolutely incredible.
And like,
as an athlete first and foremost, because you look at her, you see the gimmick, you don't think there's much beyond the gimmick, but then you actually see her work. The work rate, the ability in the ring, the way she actually executes move, she is so talented, and so much more than a comedy character. She definitely doesn't get anywhere near the credit she deserves.
She's such a well-rounded character.
Yeah.
She's such a well-rounded character, and that is rare, not only in, I suppose, in the indie scene, but also just at the top level. It's like, the thing about it is you very rarely get to make the next step while carrying that entire package over.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed for her that she does get to make that next step, because she totally deserves it.
You mentioned the comedy wrestling matches as well, like the Angel Cruisers.
Oh, Lord.
Absolutely. What did you make of your first Angel Cruisers video package?
The Angel Cruisers video package was amazingly funny.
Yeah.
It was like, and again, so well done, really well paced, and genuinely funny. Like, I LOL'd.
Yeah.
Which
is impressive, because you don't know them, or you've no attachment to them at all.
No attachment at all. And I was just like, all right, this is good. That's fair play. On subject of video packages, without wanting to double back to the Walter Devlin thing, the video package they made for that match is on a par with anything you'd see on the WWE's YouTube channel or on their network.
It's above a lot of the way they tell storytelling.
It was so
Sean
good.
Ryan is the man who produces them.
It was so good. This, ditto actually for Session Mott's match with Mako. Like they were brilliant, and kudos to Sean if you're watching this.
Yeah,
because it was brilliant.
The level is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very hard. I love the comedy bits as much as I love the pure wrestling bits, but the fact that they can produce a product that entertains kids and adults is so clever. I remember my friend Tony brought his son for the first time, Ryan, and they didn't really know what to expect. They were just there for Devlin. They were WWE fans. They were there because Devlin was the draw. But one of the Club Tropicana, they came out to Toto Africa.
Toto's Africa, yeah.
You missed out on their manager, a hilarious man by the name of Jose Idol, who speaks broken English and has a fake mustache and is just so over the top. But he is absolutely manfully defending the honour of his tag team at one stage, and these guys are trying to bully Club Tropicana, and he stops and he says, "You leave my friends alone or I will fist you."
Even there was a lovely moment.
The adults laugh, the kids laugh, everyone loves
There
it.
was a lovely moment with Valkyrie the other night as well, whereby she was trying to block herself between herself and Raven Creed, and she just goes, "Save yourself!" And it was like really loud. She takes the hit. It was just like, I was like, well done. This is just, it's really good.
So much of it is so clever. The storytelling is great, and Will, you have got to call out the man who prevents you from going every Saturday.
Yeah, look, I'm actually really looking forward to going to see a match soon when I actually have a weekend off. I think over the next month I'm definitely going to try and get it down to the next card, because aside from anything else, I remember when I was younger going to see cards in Dublin when the Feds came over here. WCW and WWE did a few really poor tours.
Do you know there's a full handheld version of the WCW show from like '93? It's either not on YouTube or Daily Motion.
No.
Yeah, full like 2 hours of it. Yeah, somebody just had the camcorder, I think, at the rail, and they were like, somebody asked them, "Are you supposed to be filming this?" I think the famous story is, "Are you supposed to be filming this?" And just went, "Yeah." So they kept going.
I am authorised by World Championship Wrestling and Turner Broadcasting.
2 hour show with like Sting. There was a WCW title change in Dublin back in the day. I think at this very show. Yeah.
Oh.
They basically flipped the title between Vader and Sting. Between, I think the initial title change was here, and then they went over to London and then switched it back just to kind of show anything can happen at a WCW house show. But yeah, that's Dublin's famous footnote, is they had a WCW title change.
That is
But
class.
for the best part, I mean, for anyone who has tickets for the European tour for Raw and SmackDown who are coming touring, if you see them here or in the UK, I kind of feel sorry for you ever so slightly. These guys are literally going to phone it in, because realistically they're coming off the back of quite a long program going into WrestleMania. They don't want to get injured. Injuries do happen. We saw it happen to Seth Rollins here in Dublin a few years ago as well. Unfortunately, it's going to happen, but for the best part, you're looking at tag team matches, you're looking at no angles. You really don't get the feel you get when you go to a WWE event. Both Niall and I think have both been to WrestleMania. Yeah. You're breaking your cherry this time, Darren.
Yeah, with the Mania Cherry, first time it's on the East Coast, and I'm going to get to see Becky Lynch headline, which, I mean, 10 years ago I wouldn't have even imagined.
Yeah, once you don't fall asleep, because it's a long show.
If I get till the end, I'll be doing pretty well.
Can I just say, don't drink. Whatever you do, don't drink, because that will just dull you to the core. That is an 8 hour show.
I might need something to get through some of the poor matches on the card. What's the ceiling for OTT? Because when we first watched it, it was a couple of hundred people at the Tivoli. Then they maxed out Tivoli every night, 700 people.
Yeah.
Tivoli since dearly departed, they knocked it down. So their shows are probably going to run a little more infrequently because they're struggling for venues. They went out to the National Basketball Arena, put on a brilliant show there. Atmosphere was electric, matches were really good, and the venue layout worked quite well. Transport link's not wonderful, but you will survive. How big can they go? Can they start doing the arena monthly?
I'd hope they'd find a venue in town that can host them monthly. I think the stadium monthly might be a bit fanciful. I think it works in their favour to kind of do possibly, quarterly shows and that used to be the trend for bigger companies and that as well. It'd be like work a decent sized venue once a quarter, and in between have your solid little house shows. So they might be able to work the one out by St. Pat's, and they might be able to work the one in the basketball arena, and then work towards having quarterly shows in the stadium. But they shouldn't view there being any ceiling. They should just keep trying, as they are doing, to put on the best product that they can do. Keep producing those amazing video packages. Keep booking smartly in terms of who you bring in from abroad, and you're going to build your own stars as well. I don't think they should view themselves as having any ceiling. I think if they can make a lot of friends along the way, get into certain buildings that mightn't necessarily have had wrestling before, like imagine somewhere like Vicar Street holding a show. That'd be like outstanding. I know this is tangential completely, but I know the Academy for a Fight Like Ape show back in the day, did have a ring set up in the middle of the floor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, it's like, so Fight Like Apes essentially had a wrestling show, and I don't see any reason why the Academy couldn't put something like that again, because that'd be an amazing place. When you have like the balcony around, you have the whole floor, and you have people with the back. It's.
I feel like old school ECW.
It absolutely would. That'd be a superb place.
I think
it feels like you're part of something special going to the shows. I know that might sound a bit corny or cheesy, but like, I get the sense that maybe people who were there on ECW in the early days, they probably had that same feeling too, where you feel that what you're a part of is going somewhere, and in 15, 20 years' time will be fondly remembered as a golden era of wrestling. It really feels like the start of something special, I hope, and not the peak, not the end of it.
I was worried things were going to go south for them once WWE started signing up Irish and UK independent acts. I thought this might just dry up the talent. Their contracts are going to restrict them from working for certain different companies. But that obviously hasn't affected them. As Richie said, there's been smart booking so far, not overly relying on past-it stars that were formerly in the Feds coming across either. Like even the guys that they're booking currently, like even say booking someone like Pac, who is really hot currently anyway and is going to go to AEW. If they're clever about maybe some of the guys who are working in All Elite and they can be brought over to just maybe supplement some cards, push your own talent, I don't see any reason why they couldn't be doing shows in the arena on a fairly regular basis. But like that, they probably need to keep them special.
How far we've come moment was how much of a footnote Hurricane Helms was in that last show. 10 years ago you would have been looking at Hurricane Helms headlining a show like that in Dublin.
Darren, and now you should tell them about trying to hijack Hurricane's mask.
He said no.
Yeah.
Tried to get a picture with the mask on, he's like, this doesn't come off.
I met him in 2002. He wasn't the friendliest guy that I've ever met in the wrestling industry.
He wasn't staying here.
Very serious.
He wasn't staying here.
He was very serious.
Yeah. He was Hurricane back then as well. I remember a lot of people were kind of going up to him trying to get the kind of Hurricane character and stuff, and this is at WWE Access as well.
He was not happy to live the gimmick.
He was not playing along.
I think just on the ceiling as well, like in terms of...
Can they go to the 3 Arena? Can they go somewhere like that, or is that just pie in the sky stuff?
Let's go lower than that for now. Like I think...
TNA did, and they didn't have much of an audience. I was at that show, and that was well curtained off.
They're doing fantastic in Dublin. They're also going up to Belfast.
Yeah.
I see no reason why they couldn't maybe go to other cities throughout Ireland. Like, you always hear that there are a lot of fans that do travel quite far to get to the shows, and they seem to be very loyal fans. They seem to be there all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe there's a case to push it out. If you're only doing the 4 shows in the arena or whatever every year, maybe you could put a case for putting on a smaller show in Galway or Cork, even though they have their own brands. But if they have them there, maybe they can put them on OTT on demand, and the viewers that go to these gigs in Dublin might pay that £7 to watch those shows and see the continuity in storylines.
Yeah, they just have to be, just be smart and be careful, because it is, like, Ireland as a whole is a very small audience for anything. So when you're kind of a niche product like they are, there is only a certain amount of fans that you're ever going to properly reach, but they don't necessarily need to think in those terms. They can just try and build themselves steadily along the way.
It's weird that you could nearly consider them as a sleeping giant, because there's a massive latent fan base of Attitude Era guys in their mid-20s, early 30s who would like that kind of entertainment and just don't know what's out there. Yeah. So there's a massive potential audience, no matter what the audience they have now, the potential to grow.
Yeah, I won't be put off by the kind of, because I've been to the WWE tour shows over here. They're very, very, very young in terms of audience. Yeah. Like, and it kind of almost feel weird now to play to those things. You're like, I'm in my 30s here.
It's not for you. Like,
it's under Rey Mysterio masks around you.
Yeah. And trying to get the lols out of parents who are, with John Cena supporting kids, and you're booing him, and they're like, I was like, get control of your child. That happened.
Dad, stop booing John Cena. You're embarrassing me.
But yeah, the 3 Arena, it's a venue thing in Dublin.
Yeah,
there's nothing between the 3 Arena and, say, the Olympia. But why not think in those terms and getting something in the Olympia, or getting something in the
I think it's going to help them as well, Darren, is the fact they're getting a bit of international exposure as well. They're frequently talked about on, say, things like the What Culture Wrestling podcast and so on. Dave Meltzer has tweeted about them a few times, and he's getting people to send him videos and matches and so on.
Yeah, I was listening to Chris Zellner giving props to Session Bot on Between the Sheets there the other week.
Yeah, like that's probably, that's international prestige and getting into the market which you probably couldn't buy really. It's going to be interesting to see, maybe will fans from the UK come to Dublin to see cards potentially?
Definitely.
When they're being offered matches that they can't see over there, they've got no choice sometimes, you know.
Same as we did. Like Irish fans definitely went over to England kind of thinking that they're going to see something of progress that they wouldn't have seen here, so why not?
And now it's here for them. Niall, you mentioned that you went for the initial big names. Like I went for Mick Foley and to get my selfie with Mick Foley, and that was a great moment, and buy the Cactus Jack t-shirt. But on that same show, I mean, they had Ricochet on the card, they had War Machine on the card, they had Marty Scurll on the card. They had so many guys that are on the path to being superstars now, who at the time were lower down the totem pole. Joe Cabray deserves massive credit for being a star maker. Like, he is the guy who is picking out wrestlers and giving them the platform to put themselves over and to make themselves really relevant in the business, where it's so packed with so many talented workers at the moment. Who for you and the Irish scene do you get excited about? Who do you look at and say will be big in 10 years?
On the Irish scene?
On the Irish scene.
Look, it might be an obvious choice, but I really think Scotty Davis had a standout match. Like, what is he, down the road in Dublin?
Absolutely. Like 18 as well, which is crazy.
18, like, then you've got like all those guys in More Than
Is he really that young?
Yeah.
Wow. So crazy.
The first few events he worked at the Tivoli as an in-ring performer, he wasn't old enough to get into the building.
Amazing. Wow.
And he was class. He's unbelievable.
He already looks so polished, yeah.
Yeah, Ospreay loves him. Like, they did they did the Superman landing thing, and Davis pulled it off better than Ospreay, and you could see he was kind of like, you're not meant to do that, man. You're meant to make me look good here.
Davis is somebody who could do really well in Japan.
Yeah.
He could do superb stuff in Japan.
I think as well, maybe with on Davis, that the day that maybe Jordan Devlin can't do a show because he's booked somewhere else, because he's getting to that level as well. He might not be there for all that much longer. I don't know, pure speculation, but it doesn't seem like Scotty Davis is too far away from being that main event guy who kids are going to buy his t-shirts. You know, he's got a really marketable gimmick, like the mustache, the hair, you know, he's fantastic. He's exciting in the ring to watch, which, if you're a kid, is the most important thing. Like, we're four adults here talking about how they talk, how they walk, how the technique of their wrestling, whatever.
Scotty Davis does cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. If you're a kid, that's what it matters.
I have a Scotty Davis t-shirt, and I am not a kid.
Okay.
You are, Darren.
Well, I am.
Child at heart.
But I really would say him, and if that's too obvious, pardon me, but I'd say it's probably him.
Richie, Scotty Davis impressed you more than anyone else you saw on that card?
There's just so much, given his age, given his ability, given his work style. There's so many different places that he could go and do well for himself. He could attach himself onto that WWE UK brand. Not that it's necessarily huge at the moment, but it's a nice, I suppose, springboard up to the next level. He, like, as I say, he could go off to Japan and do fantastic work. Like, you could see him and Ospreay doing something in, like,
they'd tear the house down, wouldn't
they? Absolutely would. Like in Carucan Hall or something like that, they'd do fantastic stuff. It'd be great to see, and it'd be a natural kind of successor to Ricochet, seeing as he's moved on. Session Moth could absolutely do some brilliant stuff elsewhere, and I really hope that she does, because she's been a while at it now and probably deserves it. But yeah, I just, as a whole, just to see them continue on and do what they're doing, it's fantastic.
And a last word about the OTT fans, because I actually spoke to Ospreay after the last show.
All head cases.
And he made the point that the reason he loves coming back to OTT, even though his schedule doesn't really allow him to do many indie dates outside Japan, is because the fans. He made a point that the English fans try to put themselves over too much and aren't as concerned about what's happening in the ring, while the Irish fans just buy into it in a way that it makes you want to give your best performance. How special are the Irish fans to this scene, or do we give them too much credit? Is it something that wrestlers are always just going to say, oh, the fans are great, or is it meaningful when they talk about the OTT fans, when they give them props like that?
I think it is. Like, I mean, the first time I went to the show, as much as I enjoyed the wrestling, what brought me back was the fact that I really felt a part of something greater than just any wrestling show. Like, all the fans were glued to what was on in the ring. I had fun. I make my money by using my voice on air, and I came in here the next Monday with no voice because I was chanting so much. I think they play a huge part. They're not the reason for OTT success, but I mean, if the wrestlers enjoy coming back here because of the fans, I think that's a great sign.
See, yeah, as on my first visit, you can see how invested everybody was. You can see how everybody clearly follows the product and was up on the chants and stuff, and that's a really unique thing for them to grasp onto, because it helps. Everything like that helps. The last thing you want is to be sitting in front of, or be performing in front of an audience that are sitting on their hands. because or be performing in front of an audience of kids, don't really care what's actually happening. They've got people investing in what's going on in the ring and in the nice little videos as well that go beforehand, and that's a good place to be.
Right, that's where we pretty much leave it. Before we'll go, you don't want to drop a pipe bomb on your boss?
No, I think I'll leave the pipe
into
on.
the camera.
As much as I'd be tempted to drop one, it probably will preclude me from ever going to an event.
You might have a lot more free time.
Yeah, you'll have a lot more free time.
Yeah,
fine.
365 days of free time.
The Macho Man, Richie McCormack, do you want to hold up the glorious winged eagle before we go?
I don't actually.
Should we do it?
I'll put my shoulder out.
Should we do a title change here like the old WCW days? No one's expecting a title change.
I just want somebody along the way to do the Macho Man Hulk Hogan handshake. It's like, oh yeah, brother.
There you go.
Yeah. That's all.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe as well. Offtheball.com.